If you have a heart condition, you cannot volunteer for this. Yikes. Who would have thought that? This show is intense, dude. He's on his way to the hospital. Give it a round of applause for hospitals.
Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to this new chat show that I have. My name is Feminist Stacy, and today I have on my new friend, Linda, who's also a feminist.
I'm a real feminist because I sucked off 3 dudes on my way here, so someone's actually making a difference.
Okay, so what do you mean you sucked off 3 guys on the way here?
Yeah, it's called liberating yourself. You heard of it?
But why would you lower yourself to a man's knees and suck him off when he could have clearly gone down on you?
What you did? Well, I didn't lower myself. I was underneath the van because I was fixing it because that's what a woman does.
Okay, I'll give you that.
So what I did, the guy came by and he said, "That's my truck. Why are you fixing it?" I said, "Well, obviously someone's got to fix it and I can't trust a man to." He said, "Get away from me." And then I basically took down his pants and sucked him off. And it's called liberating yourself. And I took the power back from him. And then while I was in the zone of taking the power back, there was a guy that was delivering a pizza. So I sucked him off. And then also I should mention that I'm polyamorous.
Okay, so all of this is, I think it's a good thing to discuss as a couple of feminists. I think that some of that, I think you need to, as women, we need to suck whatever dicks that we want. I think that we can put whatever dicks that we want in our mouth, but at some point, we don't want to become like it's too free. Do you know what I mean? Because then the men are taking advantage of us and our sexual prowesses.
No, I felt so liberated. And I should also mention that my 8-year-old son was there to watch. So I left his father because his father didn't want to take my last name retroactively.
Okay, I like this. Continue.
So then me and Marcus, my son, I took him out onto the street and I had to show him that women can objectify men too by blowing them all.
Now, is your son a feminist as well?
He's a feminist boy, yes. I've been raising him gender neutral and I've been raising him to not... I've been raising my son. He says that he's straight, but I told him he waits till he's 25 before he makes that decision.
Thank you. And, some people want to say that their favorite color is a certain thing. You can just say your color's gray until you make the proper decision. It doesn't matter.
His favorite color is gray unless it's pink. That's what I've always said. I said, until you're ready for your favorite color to be pink, your favorite color is going to be gray.
Do you know what my favorite color is? Translucent.
Why's that?
Because it's kind of blurry and it has a lot of different colors in it.
Well, I agree with you that nothing is anything, but sometimes when I'm doing my OnlyFans liberating myself, I let my son hold the camera because I like him to learn what it looks like for a woman to be actualized.
There's 2 ways to look at OnlyFans. 1 is objectifying women, or 2, women are taking the power of their own bodies and they're putting it out there and they're making men pay for the things that they're already looking at and other people are oogling over them. So we might as well be making money off of it. Do you have a connected OnlyFans that I can maybe talk to?
I have 9 different OnlyFans.
9 different OnlyFans?
Yes, I have one for my front, and then I have one for my back, and then
wait, you have different accounts for different parts of your body?
I should mention that my gender changes very often, so I have once those gender changes, I have a different personality, and I go on to a different OnlyFans.
Oh, this is so refreshing.
So I have non-binary mom 69's one.
Oh, continue.
And then I have binary mom 69 when I'm feeling binary. Keep going. So sometimes I'm feeling binary, and then also I have one that's when I'm switching frequently. Sometimes I switch from male to female to non-binary frequently. So then I have freaky 69 is my third OnlyFans.
Sometimes when I hook up with a man, I make him put on a strap-on pussy just so I can let him know what it's like to have a vagina like me, and I pleasure myself with another vagina that's fake and also with a real one that is mine.
I respect that. I respect your hustle. Sometimes what I would like to do is also have men strap all of their penises, and I feel like they should permanently wear strap-ons to let it know how we have to go through when we're wearing strap-ons to pegging them.
Exactly.
Yes.
Almost like around Christmas, it's like reindeer with like antlers of dicks all over their forehead.
When I was liberating myself with a man the other night, one of the things I asked him to do was put a strap-on over top of his penis and then peg me with it the way that I would have to peg him, so he knows what we have to go through.
Well, one time I hooked up with a guy. Have you seen the movie Hellraiser?
Yeah.
Do you know Pinhead?
I'm familiar with Pinhead,
Okay,
yes. Sexist movie, but yes.
Okay. Oh, well, we'll get into that in a second. We got 100 little dildos and we put it all over and taped him all over his face, and he looked like a Pinhead dildo Hellraiser. And I said, this is what it's like to have dicks looked at you all the time as a woman. I said, look at this in the mirror and try to come. He couldn't.
They never can come. But what I've been billing man extra for the mental labor. Even though I wasn't a prostitute situation, this is someone that I met on Grindr. But I've been billing people for the mental labor that I've had to put in when I'm pegging them, even though the pegging was my idea.
The only dating app I like is Bumble because it's the woman's choice.
Well, I don't know if you've been familiar with this with your Bumble hires, but sometimes when you're having sex with people, once you demand that you peg them, then they start wincing in pain, and then they allow you, like that's your problem, that they're unable to deal with their masculinity being taken away from them. That should be something that I now have to deal with, and that's something I resent.
If I can take a dick, so can you.
That's what I've been sort of saying. That's what I've been teaching my son, Marcus, yes.
Do you want to sell bumper stickers on your OnlyFans sites?
I've wanted to sell bumper stickers that says "will suck," and just to let people know that I'm a woman, I am strong, I am brave, and I will suck you off. Don't think that just because I'm a woman, I'm a fragile person. I will objectify, so if you want to come to my house, and even if it's a lineup of guys, I will take them one by one, taking the power back off, 10, 20 guys at a time.
So you, in a way, when you take a man's cum, is like taking their freedom away.
I basically put them in an institutionalized situation where now you know what it's like to be a woman, where I've just put you on the ground and pleasured you.
Now, why is Hellraiser a sexist film?
Is because they've created a phallic situation to represent the protagonist of the movie.
Oh, I see.
Where I would like to see holes and craters on that head to represent vaginas. I think most film and most... See, you never very much see...
You know, when you think about it, Pinhead, some of his minions had holes in them, but they were not as powerful as Pinhead.
They're never as powerful.
They're never as strong
They're
as
subservient
him.
characters.
Right, they're little side characters that they're serving him in different parts of hell. And it's kind of disgusting. I never thought of that. It's a horror classic film that I love watching every Halloween. I've watched so many other different Hellraisers. But you know, I'm going to look at it in a different light, Linda, because you've shown a different path on me, and I appreciate you being here.
This is the thing that we see over and over again in cinema. That as soon as someone has a hole in them, generally, especially when we're talking about a fight movie or a crime movie, is the minute someone has a hole in them, now all of a sudden they're weak.
Ooh,
they're
I've been
weaker.
stabbed in my heart. Ooh, I'm weak now.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's disgusting.
This is a weaker person because they have a hole in them now, as opposed to someone that's holding the gun, holding the sword, exuding power. And this
I got
is something
stabbed
that
in the eye. I can't see now. Really?
and then, here's me. I have the sword and I'm doing the stabbing. Look I'm a powerful man. I'm a powerful person. And this is something that I'd appreciate stopping right now. And this Hellraiser film is, is just another in a string of misogynist propaganda.
It's just disgusting. Linda, it's been such a pleasure to finally vent with another feminist on my new talk show.
I love meeting with other feminists. I love other women that are taking the power back. I do suggest you take a few dicks just to let guys know that you're in charge and you're large.
This is so empowering. Thank you. Do you want to go get brunch or like lunch or like dinner? You know what? Let's go grab a steak lunch, because as women, we're so many people are like, oh, you can only get brunch as a woman. You can only do a coffee date.
I've heard that.
Let's do a carnivore lunch, all you can eat buffet. What do you think, Linda?
Women can get carnivore buffets. Women can fart and burp. I make a point of farting and burping at all meals. I basically turned my family into the clumps to show people that that's the kind of thing that women can do as well. I'll show up with my tits out at a family dinner and let people know that, women can be gross too. I'm sorry. Women can show up with period stains and shit stains on their body. And that's not for you to tell me what a woman's body can do.
I burped at a dinner on a date once, and a guy said, "Did you just queef?" And I killed him.
You should have killed him, because that's not something that he thinks the society's not ready for a woman that can burp, queef, and shit potentially.
I've done it all the time, same times, simultaneously on the same dick before.
I rarely don't, because you have to sometimes lead by example. So I was at a job interview the other day, and I took a shit in my pants during the interview. I did not get that job, which I'm assuming was related to the shit, because that's the expectations. Where if that was a guy shitting in the interview, he probably would have got high-fived and been promoted to CEO.
And we're just going to leave you with that, okay? Just think about that there's still not equal rights for women and men and people of different color and people of different sexes. Just keep that in mind and have a lovely day.
Keep that in mind.
Be better.
Oh, snap.
Snap dog.
Snap dog. Ryan Long's all the way in from the Big Apple. How you doing, brother?
Rocking in from the Big Apple. Hey, I got know what I was thinking, that because there's a few other musicians in the comedy industry.
Yeah.
Do you find you're good at drums, right?
I'm not good at drums.
Is that the only one?
No. I mean, I can do a little of a handful of instruments.
Do you find that you're a good editor because of that you're a good musician?
Oh, interesting. I've video edited for many years.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I've never really thought of that. I don't know. I think that there's definitely a musicality with editing, the way,
huge,
like the flow. Like just a video that you posted recently. I mean, and I do this all the time, like comedically with music, like the hard stops in and out, like to keep pacing going and stuff like that. And I think that's a musician thing, where it's just like, oh no, this needs a little bit of something here. This needs a,
Yeah. A lot of times there's the people that I find are musicians, there's like something off balance about it. But I've been, making videos forever, and it's very hard to find someone that's a good editor, right? That's probably the hardest thing to find. I found 3 or 4, and all of them were musicians. And the most recent one I found, like, I didn't know this about him, and he's pretty decent, and we've been working together for a while. And then he was like, yeah, I'm a musician. I was in these bands. And it was like, I've never found a really good, and even if you look, I used to like Tom Green, I was big into him, and people like that, like Tim and Eric and those guys kind of invented a genre.
Yeah,
all musicians.
Yeah,
that guy.
I've never thought of this before.
That guy who edits Key and Peele and all those Portlandia, all those shows. He's like a DJ.
Yeah.
So the Jackass guys originally, like Bam Margera, those guys were all musicians.
Yeah, CKY, all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's so interesting.
So I've never found like a really, really good editor, and I always found, because I've been making videos since I was like 15 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I guess you might have been in this situation too, where it almost became that being a comedian, now you need to do everything. Like, you have to be a video editor. You got to be you have to essentially be like a rocket scientist now if you want to do stand up, right?
Oh, dude, it's literally like the ultimate Renaissance man feeling.
It is a real Renaissance man situation.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The amount of like the plates that I feel like you have to spin now to be like a current stand up, where in the 50s, like, if you were just a great joke writer, you might have just been famous. You go to the Tonight Show, just whatever.
No, right now you're doing, which I kind of like to some degree. But yeah, even when we come here, to your studio. You've got, a saxophone here. You're like getting props ready. You have to know how to work all the cameras. You have to know how to put sets together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're doing it all.
I mean, I built all this out myself. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people, they go, I'll just hire people to do it. And you're like, yeah, and it'll be worse.
Oh, well, also, it's harder to find. I mean, if you just throw tons of money at stuff, you can always find people. But it's kind of harder than you think when you're like, yeah, I'll hire somebody to build out a studio. It's like, who?
And people are good at doing the job if you know exactly what you want.
Yeah.
But a lot of times the job is figuring that out. Like I built out a studio and it was kind of like, well, what do you want it to look like? And I was like, I don't know. That's the job, I guess, to figure that out.
Right. What's the aesthetic? How are you wanting it to be viewed by?
Ideally, I'd want you to do something and then give it to me, and I'd be like, sick.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because once you're spending all the time and being like, this is exactly what I want, it's like, oh, I've made it, basically done it now.
Right.
Which is what I did.
Then what's the point? Yeah. Then what's the point at that point?
It took me forever. Well, you have an aesthetic that kind of suits you or whatever, but
yeah,
that was one of the biggest things when I was doing my studio was like, I tried out like 80 different looks. I just had a board of so many studios, and I just kept buying stuff. Like I would buy like curtains, and I would buy different like backgrounds, and I'd put them up and shelves and stuff. And I go, okay, it's kind of like trial and error to some degree.
I just love how passionate you are, and you really have to be to want to do all of this. Like, you put out videos every single Monday. For people who don't know, like if they don't really think about it, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
That's like you know what I mean? Like to consistently put that out. Like
I always
every
say
week.
that's what, there's a problem with, like whenever there's certain people that do this stuff and they're kind of like, oh, I want to like get to the point where I don't have to do that anymore. It's like, well, if you hate the thing, then don't do this. Like if your whole goal is
to get away from the thing. Yeah.
So you have to, and it's hard sometimes, especially when you're touring stuff because you're just like, okay, let me get like 2 or 3 in the can so I don't have to think about that and I could do this. But so that's when I know I need to like stop. And even touring, I was like, okay, I need to like start canceling some dates. I need to start actually being at home and thinking about videos. Cause I'm like, if I'm not making good stand up and making good videos, then it's like, eventually the whole pyramid's going to like topple, right?
And then everything starts to suffer together rather than.
And you hate it. And you're not going to make anything good when you hate it. So I try to be like, stand-up's like the business card that everything like sits on. And then for me, the videos is the thing where I'm just like, I have to make sure that I'm like in the zone making what I consider funny, because that has to be able to like re-energize you a little bit, where you're just like, that little thing once a week where you're just like, that's funny. Okay. That's okay. We're moving forward.
I think
here
there's something there with
comedically.
that. Yeah.
Even just like some of the times and then you get better at knowing where you get, this won't do as good, but I think it is really funny.
Yeah.
As opposed to, so you kind of get better at like the energy of, I know this isn't as good, this won't do as good, but I know it's really funny. And knowing how often you can do that. Like every video can't just be like, this is a deep cut.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to do like 3 for them, 1 for you kind of thing.
Yeah. You go, there's sort of like a science now to your pattern of what you release as well.
You grew up in Canada, right?
Yeah, I'm from Toronto.
I feel like you and I were probably living very similar lives as far as like with video making and stuff like that. Like I'm from Kansas, you're from Toronto.
Yeah.
Like we're probably, different sides of the world.
Were you were like a musician, skateboard kid sort of situation?
A little bit, yeah.
Go.
I was never great at skateboarding. I always like filmed videos for my friends because I was good at filming. So I'm like, hey, I can ride and I'll follow you. You know what I mean? So I had like a Canon GL2 and I was like following them around, stuff like that. But yeah, I never got good at skateboarding, but played sax for a long time. And I had always wanted to be in bands. And until I moved to LA, that's when I actually started playing with bands.
Did you find the ska scene?
No, but I mean, I know that the
that's
sax
how you get in this. That's what we used to always say, because when I was playing in a punk ska band back in the day, we used to always say that you could tell which bands just raided the band department, where it's like 5 people that look like they're in a band and then 5 people that like fucking look like nerds.
Yeah. Just like no frontmen whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, well, that guy, I thought he was your roadie, but
Yeah, that guy has no business being in like a punk band, but
Right.
you know, they needed a saxophone player, so they just raided the band department at some dork school.
oh yeah, just like Coke bottle glasses. Is like, I'm here for the ska band.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Yeah, man.
That was the weirdest mix of, especially when it was like the reggae bands, because there'd be the like reggae guy component. So you'd have like punk kids, like black reggae guy, and then just fucking band geeks,
Right.
all in like a band together.
Yeah. Well, you played in bands for a long time, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Retired.
That's sick.
I'm out of the game, dude.
What was the final thing where you're like, I gotta hang up, you know?
It wasn't going good anymore.
I mean, that's
It's a young man's game, dude. I feel like I think I got better as I get older at kind of like knowing and trusting your own instincts.
Yeah.
And there is some degree, even the like wild comedy game, I think I'm aware of that too. Whereas I used to do like the wildest shit when I was 15, 16. I used to do TV shows in Canada where it was all getting kicked out of places and stuff like that.
A lot of hidden camera kind of stuff.
A lot of hidden camera,
Yeah.
a lot of getting kicked out of malls, and you know, where the whole gag was that we're causing trouble.
Right.
A lot of it was that.
The ending, the big payoff is that you get kicked out of the location.
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the gag didn't work, right? Now I think I'm better at this, but that's so I think that you kind of look at the young people a little bit for the wildness and there's like an energy there that is sort of like just attractive.
Right.
But ideally, you can't compete with like the wild 20-year-olds that just be in the being wild game. So you hopefully can still have some of that essence left in you, but then you're better at the thing. So you can kind of do more interesting gags, and you take comedy to like a place where you're being older. You have that skills that they don't have at 20 because you can't compete in the being wild 20-year-old game.
I did this this thing when I was in high school. There was like a prank hidden camera segment that was real popular, that it was so popular that another school saw it and they ripped it off for me, the idea.
Nice.
And I mean, that's when you know you're onto something,
Yeah.
when other schools are ripping you off, dude. It was a very simple segment. I was on crutches and there's a hidden camera that was in the distance, and it was all a test to see who would help me out. And there was like, so I'd just be like going down the hall and then just freaking eat it.
That's
know?
a classic.
It's a classic. You know? And it was more just to see like which students would help. And there was multiple teachers that didn't help. And
you
we
caught 'em
aired
on
it.
camera?
Yeah, we aired it on the school. and they looked like huge dicks. Like one guy is literally just looking at me like, what is going on? It's like one of the coaches.
Yeah.
Like, and it went over well at the school because it's like, oh, that's what that guy
So
was doing
funny.
that way. It's like so silly.
There's a show called Just for Laughs Gags, if you know that show. And they
okay.
were the original. It was, so it's probably Canada's biggest show, but it's from
Oh, really?
Montreal. And the reason it's the biggest show is because it has no language barrier, right? So it plays in every country
just
in the history
music
of the world.
and facial
It's
expressions.
French. Oh, ooh la 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 la, oh, da, da, oh.
Yeah.
You're right, like dumbass French shit. But they just would do the cheesiest gags over and over and over again. And 90% of the show was like blind cane gags. And this would be the ones, right? It would be a guy and he'd be walking by people and then he would like fall down a manhole. And then it would be like with them helping. And like, you know, most gags, like when you kind of, you know, even just ambush comedy, whatever, like if you
Right.
think of Ali G, the best ones are you sort of put someone in an awkward position. 90% of their gags are just like a funny thing happens and then people go, they're not even involved.
Right.
So like a lot of them would be that, like a blind guy like falls over and then they like get people kind of being like, and that's it, right? They don't even put them in a situation.
Yeah.
But so much of their things, one of them was a blind gag where there's a construction worker and they had him walking over like these like high boards, and then they just kept like Mr. Magoo style. They kept, you know, coming right at he was just about to die, and it would
And
then,
something would save it. Yeah.
yeah, and the whole thing was they'd have this big setup, and then the whole payoff was they'd show people on the street like pointing at it.
Yeah,
It's the worst show.
I did did this stand-up bit like years ago where I was just like comparing the hidden camera shows like between the US and other countries.
Jamie Kennedy was a good one from here.
Oh, dude, the Jamie Kennedy experiment was like, I loved that show. I used to watch it with my mom
Underrated.
all the time. So underrated. He pulled off some great pranks on that show.
Do you remember when he was a lifeguard? So he was, this is just like a 30-second thing. But he was basically, he blows the whistle and he's like, everyone get out of the pool. I needed to go to the bathroom. And then he just walks into the pool and then just like pretends to piss for 30 seconds, walks back out, gets on his lifeguard thing and he goes, everyone back in.
That's a great bit.
So stupid.
It's so funny. He does a large black woman so well. He can't do it anymore. But like they used to put him in full prosthetics and he used to be like this fat black woman who would prank people. And it was so funny, but like we're just like in a different time.
Nah, it's hard to pull off blackface.
It's hard to pull that off now.
Yeah, blackface is tough. You got to really like have an extravagant reason why.
Right.
Unless, and you know what the other thing is, like, I think someone might be able to pull it off, but like it
Robert
really
Downey Jr. was the last person to effectively, like, he did a character and he got nominated for his acting for it. You know what I mean?
I think there was a few place that did it, but it's like, it really falls into, you can't do it without it being the shtick of like, it's like an edgelord move.
Right.
Whereas a lot of things that you just want to do it, but it's like, so even if you do get to pull it off, it just became its own thing there's a lot of jokes like that where you're just like, I would love to do this joke, but it's like certain types of accents where it's like, you can't just like really do an Indian accent in your bit without like the bit kind of being that I'm doing an Indian accent.
Yeah. That's the people are laughing at it like for the wrong reasons kind of thing.
Yeah. You almost have to talk about the context of the taboo rather than just doing it, which at that point, like if that's your purpose, but a lot of times that's not what the original thing was.
By the time you talk about it, you're like, well, that's not funny anymore. I just did all like having to over-explain jokes.
Well, there's like an old principle, I feel like, that with the first people, as soon as someone says like, you can't talk about this, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like the next step is you kind of make fun of the people that told you can't talk about it, which is, I think, what a lot of people have done right now. There's a lot of people right now telling you this is what you can't say.
Right.
And then the natural instinct is maybe to say the thing, but more about make fun of the people that are telling you what you can say and what you can't say. Mm-hmm. And then they go, oh, you have a problem with that you can't say this. And you're like, more so, yeah, I just have a problem with you now, it feels like. So I think then that's kind of what happens with the blackface. It's like the blackface it would only be a comment on like the culture of you not being able to do it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, makes sense.
So there's no way to just like do a fucking pure blackface. That's my point, is for the blackface purists.
Yeah. For the people who still really are wanting to really do it, it's like,
for the art.
Dude, I'm in it for the right reasons, dude.
This has nothing to do with being edgy. Like
No, dude, like I just like doing character work. And that's just what it is, bro.
Yeah.
So like, just like, can you back off a little bit, dude?
So there's no way you could pull that off. But Jamie Kennedy, there was him. For me, it was him, Tom Green.
Oh, yeah.
And there was another show in Canada called The Buzz, which was a big one. And then there's probably like Ali G show when it first came out. Those were my things.
I used to work at a morning radio station called The Buzz.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did they have did they have people doing the classic radio stuff?
This one wasn't so much that, because this was the alternative rock station. So they actually hated that classic.
They hated the morning zoo.
They hated that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were like, it was, yeah.
They were too cool for school.
Exactly.
No, they were like, I'll never use a sound effect, gun to my mom's head.
Oh yeah, they rarely use that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I was my favorite one was when we used to tour a lot, listening to the small town ones, where because all the rock stations kind of slowly turned into top 40 to some degree.
Oh, for sure.
But they all sort of had the same vibe, where there was a one that me and my friends used to always joke about. There's this guy, and he was kind of like, you know, we're the station that plays whatever the bleep we want to. Like, we don't listen. There was kind of that vibe. We don't listen to the rules. And then it came back, and he goes, all right, now here's another one from Taylor Swift. Just for the artist, I don't know, whatever.
Taylor Swift has fallen upon hard times again.
Yeah.
She broke up with another guy. Hit it, Taylor.
I did one recently where it was, all I remember is the guy's name was legitimately something like the animal or whatever, like the cliche.
Right.
He had some animal. But I guess now the dynamic is it's always like one of those guys and then like a black lady that would have been like a top 40 kind of thing. That's like the pairing, it feels like now. Like an old school white, like road dog DJ and then kind of like a R&B like black chick, and they have like zero chemistry. And that was, and you're kind of like, who's possibly listening to this?
Right. Well, a lot of people, I guess, still listen to the morning radios. And I was shocked. Every once in a while, I'll do press,
And
like
it
in an area.
works.
Yeah, I will sometimes be like, so how do you guys hear about the show? You know what I mean? Like if I'm
And they
like,
did.
and then someone would be like, I heard you on the radio this morning. I'm like, that worked? That's crazy.
That almost bothers you because when that happens, you go, ugh. Like I was hoping it was Noah.
Right. And then you're like, oh, I guess I got to go do
Yeah,
more
yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually effective. Oh, okay.
Fuck.
Let's get back to it.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is you go. Then I would have loved for this experiment for me to now go tell managers and agents to go do morning radio. You go. I already. No one. You know. I've run the experiment.
Yeah. What would you say is one of the because you do a lot of characters and you've done a lot of characters over the years in your sketches and stuff like that. What would you say a character that has gotten the most like response where people are like, I don't know necessarily think a negative response, but spark the most conversation out of characters that you've done?
I feel like I don't want to take credit like being a character guy because the truth is I'm not. Like I kind of do. Like you seem like a guy that actually can do characters. I mean, I even saw some of the videos you were doing with Dick Josh and stuff like that. And I feel like there's two types of people that can do like voices and characters and actually get into characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like I can write for characters, but all my characters are me in a different hat with the same voice. So
you have a very distinct voice.
Yeah, and even the way I talk. So you know how like even like Tim and Eric and shows like that, like they were just putting a different hat on, and
Yeah.
so I don't actually do any characters, to be honest. I just put on a wig and a hat and change nothing. I change the words.
I'd love for you to teach a character workshop where you're like, welcome guys, this is how we're gonna do it. You don't need to change your voice. You don't need to change anything. But we do have wigs here.
Yeah, if I'm a hockey player, it would be like, you know, and I'm a hockey player, and if I was
It's like the people
I'm
who,
a school teacher now, and this
who
is
do
me.
the impression by saying like
That's what
I'm
I do.
so-and-so. Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
This is how I would do it. I go, I'm a skateboarder, and I'll switch this over to now I'm a guy that works at the chicken place at the mall. Simple as that. Made that shift. And if we're going to switch it over to, I'm a bus driver. So just driving the bus here. So if you think about it, it's like, you know that thing where it's like how many movies or TV shows have Norm Macdonald been in where he played the same?
Oh, dude, it's
or
great.
Sandler or anyone.
Sure.
I'd put myself more in that category where it's like, I'd put on a different hat and then change nothing.
Gotcha.
But I feel like I'm fairly good at like writing cultures.
Sure.
So I feel like I write, like if I've done a lot of, like I was making all these videos about band culture that were going viral. And then I was doing stuff about like Toronto culture where I was kind of doing like chefs and like bartenders and I've been doing a lot of New York stuff and then kind of political culture stuff. But all of the guys the same, but I feel like I'm able to maybe hit on the pulses where I'm like, oh, that is that guy, but not the way that I act, just the way that I write.
I like some of your man on the street stuff too, where like you're just asking an old guy who is 6-7 feet away from his wife, like about his gay experiences and stuff like that. And you're trying to like get him to say like either he is gay or that like he's had something, and then you're like, well, of course you're not gonna say anything to me. Your wife's right there. Like I love all that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
like kind of pushing those buttons and like like making people like kind of uncomfortable in public is just always so funny to me.
Me too. There's something about when you find the right question, or it really is like you're like an improv guy to some degree, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
when you find the right, I guess, game with someone that essentially they lose no matter what.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
not
you are
playing
in 1,000% control.
Yeah.
Whatever they say at that point, you're playing right into everything that I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what you just said, if you're going to someone, you're like, obviously you're not going to tell me you're gay if your wife's here, but like between me and you.
Yeah, between like,
And then it's like, if they say no, it's because their wife's there.
right.
If
you have
they-
a safety net around everything.
Yeah, and if they're like, dude, I'm not going to talk about this right now, and you go, I know, I wouldn't either. She's right
Yeah.
here. We'll talk about something else, and then you pretend just a couple straight guys. Like,
Yeah. Or even if he leans into the joke and he's like, yeah, my wife's here. Like you're getting gold right there too.
leaning in doesn't work. Like, there's no win for them where they go, oh, I'm just gay, and you go, yeah, okay, that's what we wanted.
Okay, cool. Well, that's a soundbite. Thanks so much.
And then you'd go over to the wife, be like, how do you feel about this? Like playing along with it.
Your son, your husband just said that he was gay. Your thoughts?
yeah. There's just no winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones where I think that's another part of knowing how the edit works. It's because you're sort of like fiddling around with all these little things. And then as soon as you find one, you kind of need to know how the editing is going to work too. And then you kind of like, you click into like what that, you're like, oh, here's our moment.
Have you gone through a trial and error phase with some other editors in the past?
I edit all my stuff.
You edit
but
all your stuff.
I'm trying to find people that are good enough to get it to, 90%.
Yeah, right. But you always do that last polish, huh?
Yeah, and a lot of times I do the run throughs with them at first, but the only editors. So I've found 2 or 3 editors that are really good enough to like put together those kind of like videos that are all very like music based, and editing's a big component of it.
Right.
And for the most part, those editors were all like very successful, YouTubers on their own merit or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So finding someone that is an editor that like wants to work full time for someone and all that stuff, that's the difficult part. But if you find the right person that's young enough and there's, you can make it worth it enough for them, I think the best case scenario is you have to spend more time writing. Like, when you're writing sketches, you can write it where you go, we'll figure this out a bit. Or you can write it where you go, no, you'll figure it out now in your script.
Oh yeah, I've in the past for sure made the mistake of like riff and ending.
No, riffing,
Dude.
I don't believe in improv and
my
sketches.
goodness. Oh, interesting.
No, so I have there's an old editing saying that I listened to, and it was like, I can't remember who said it. I think might have been one of the editors at College Humor back in the day, but he said that fades are for pussies that don't know how to cut.
Oh.
And I do kind of think that improv's for pussies that don't know how to write.
Whoa, freaking bars, dude.
But so that doesn't mean. I'll still, if you're doing like documentary style, I'll do very much where it's like, hey, we're gonna do. I know all the lines we're saying, but we'll figure it. But I might rearrange how it's going.
Yeah.
Or I can actually edit it in my script where I'm like, no, here's the first line, here's the like, what I mean, for real. Edit. And I think that is a thing to do if you are trying to toss off editing to someone.
Right.
Pick the music beforehand, even sometimes, you can do all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of that component
That makes sense.
yeah, you can help get it to that. But here's another thing that I say with if I'm doing scripts if I'm giving scripts to people that are funny that you're working with, I'll say you're allowed to come up with any lines you want, but you have to give them to me before we start shooting, and they have to be shorter than the original line. And say the same thing. Because most times people either make it longer or
For no reason.
Yeah. Most people make it longer and they give you something that changed the point. So you're kind of like, and I find that 90% of people's, especially people that don't write and do a lot of sketch, what the bit they give you is almost like a breaking the fourth wall sort of thing. That's what, yeah. Where people will always sort of make it like longer and funnier, and where it's like actually staying in the bit is funnier in the reality of things.
Sure.
So they sort of make what would be make people laugh at the time. So I find most people's things. So that's why I feel like that helps to say that the point has to be the same. Because as soon as they,
Sure.
if you're going to do something that might seem funnier at the time, but it will actually seem less funny in the edit, they'll change the point.
You're cracking up the crew or whatever at the moment, but when you get back to the edit bay, you're like, oh, this was just funny the day of. This isn't translating.
And it actually kind of took away from all the other lines too, because you kind of didn't have the guts to like commit to the point you're trying to make.
Right.
Yeah, so that, and then the shortness, because always there's like a rhythm to the thing. And then other people that don't know your rhythm, they'll make something that kind of like takes too long and gets off rhythm. So it's like, as long as it's shorter, we can fill up space. But if it's longer, you're going to get off top. And he was like, I can do that once or twice in the sketch. But it's like if you have two ideas and they're both like the moments where the sketch like gets off rhythm, it's like, well, we're kind of tying our hands here.
Did you ever do like film competitions or anything like that back in the day in Canada?
No, because I was like into making videos and DVDs and all that stuff, but really I was into being in a band.
Right.
So this was like this thing that we also did. Like our band was releasing DVDs and all that sort of stuff. But
So were you shooting the content for the DVDs and stuff like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
we were just like straight up like troublemaker kids making like what we saw as like Jackass Tom Green style stuff.
Craziest show you've ever done?
The like live show.
Like what? Yeah, with your band.
Oh, with the band.
Or like
we did an
touring.
arena. We did like an arena tour before with people. Yeah, but we did our band probably in our peak. We were doing like 1,000 people around.
That's
in
amazing.
Canada. But we used to do pretty well, dude. It would be up your alley. We would do costumes. So in a show, we would do like 3 costume changes.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty
love
fun,
that.
right?
Yeah.
So we'd start normal, and then we'd come out in like superheroes, and then we'd have like a drum solo, then someone would leave, and then people would come back with different. We were doing all that sort of stuff, and we had like dancers and like all sorts of weird ass shit. So there was a while where we were getting pretty weird. We had a pyro on the drums and shit like that. I was getting pretty into all that wild stuff. Yeah,
Pyro on the drum. I love all that stuff.
I wanna get
Theatrics,
back to it.
I'm all about. Have you ever thought of infusing that, like when, like on a special down the road or anything? Like,
Yeah.
like doing some pyro and different. Like,
I seen
good, cool
Schultz
stuff.
is getting up to some interesting stuff.
Oh man,
Yeah,
whoever his editor is
he's
doing
got a cool little team.
He's got a great team.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pyro and like some of like the variety aspect that he's doing.
I know.
Is really cool.
Well, there was something to be said about. So I was up until the pandemic, I was doing like releasing an hour, or not an hour, 45 minutes, 50 minutes every maybe year and a half.
That's great.
But once you're touring after that, there is something you said about. It's like, what do you do once you rate immediately, right? So I think there is something to be said about if you're going to be releasing hours pretty frequently, other than the tour right before. Doing a tour where you're kind of like doing some other stuff, people like it, and then you're doing an actual 20 to 30 minutes of stand-up might be like a fun way to kind of be touring in those spots too. So I've been thinking about it, but then I go back and forth where you go, a part of me is like, oh, this is sick, and then a part of me is like, fuck off, just do stand-up, like stop. I feel like that's the New York, LA thing where I go, each person needs a bit of the other, where New York's probably closer to Toronto where everyone's like too cool for everything, right? Like it's like trying is, like everyone's too cool for everything.
For Schultz being from New York, he's probably one of the most LA guys.
He is very LA.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as like approach with the theatrics and
Yeah.
just the way he just puts on a show is very much more like.
And he's not afraid to try.
Exactly. Which is a big difference between, I feel like, when people like label the club and alt scenes. Like I've done some shows literally in certain parts of LA where I wasn't doing well with the crowd because I was trying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do.
Like I was committing. I was going all out with act outs and I was like, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Like they're like, this is like too much for this crowd. They literally just want somebody to like muse on like little like perspectives on the current events or something like that.
Well, because it's deconstructionalist and then you're actually doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of those scenes, the whole gimmick is you're like you're like as if we're actually doing, like you're making fun of it.
Right.
So as soon as you're making fun of comedy and someone's like, no, I'm just actually doing comedy. And they're like, what?
Yeah, you're like,
what are you fucking... What kind of loser does this for real?
Yeah,
I mean, sure, we're at the venue on a comedy show that we promoted pretty hard.
Yeah, but nobody paid for the ticket. You know, it's like, what? Isn't the end goal to go out there and do the thing?
No, but I do have both of those.
Sick
like,
socks, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh
I always try to have cool socks. These are sushis.
Dude, what? Those are fire.
I was thinking that that was me being very LA when I was thinking that I need to start like a sock line. That'd be cool.
You got some LA vibes today, bro.
Yeah, I got a little. I mean, I think I have both, to be honest. Where it's and I go back and forth on myself. Where sometimes I get very and even on whether that be like the way I'm editing, whether that be the stuff I'm writing. The stuff I'm doing on stage, or even how you like run a business, I often I go back and forth between like which of those two is the more like authentic me. I'm like, fuck, am I fucking being too like LA where I'm just like pretending to try to, I don't know, or am I actually the other person? I think you have both of them in you.
Oh, for sure. I get inspired when we're just at Skankfest and you see comics who do things that's their thing and that's not your thing. I always get inspired because I'm like, wow, they're so good at that, and I could work on that element in my act a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like I watched somebody like Mike Vecchione do some sets. He's so funny. He has so many jokes per minute, and that's just a different it's a different kind of pacing and musicality. With the way you write and stuff like that.
He does have a very like specific musicality to his thing. It's contagious, to be honest.
And once people are in it though, they're freaking vibing.
Exactly.
And it's a hard act to follow because you're like, oh, I got to reset this to a completely different palette for...
You have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is interesting when people are all like in the pocket doing their thing, like what Skankfest was. And that's when I was hanging out with Colum a lot, and we were sort of having this conversation because it is very sometimes, even like when people are talking about, like, let's say I was doing Dave's thing and everyone's talking about pretty serious cultural stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you're kind of like, yeah, whatever, and like, yeah, who cares, and just making jokes. And it was like, well, yeah, anyone could be too cool to like actually engage in the debate.
Well, that's what was I actually liked a lot about. Excuse me, the roast of Luis J. Gomez. Shane Gillis was making fun of the roast the whole time. Like that was like he's like this is dumb. But which I think is usually a very easy thing to say or like to play that point of view. But he had the jokes to back it up, which made it that much funnier that he's like, this is dumb, why are we here? And then he would start killing, and I'm like, oh.
You just sort of pull the rug away from everyone else.
Right. Like, so that, like, to me, like, I was like, that's the best.
But you still did it.
Yeah, that's the best point of view. Like, I'm like, I haven't seen this. I've seen a lot of comics do like, oh, this is dumb, but then they don't have the material to back it up. But he had the material, and I was like, oh, that's funny. One of my favorite moments at Skankfest, I was just like I have this memory of just, I walked by you one point, and you just go, this is crazy. And then we just kept walking. I just have that like stamped in my head as like, you know, when you like have like little cliff notes of the weekend of just like little memories. I just I see you going, this is crazy. And then I was like, yeah. I just keep walking.
I just robbed a guy.
Yeah. Is that blood on a gun? What is that?
It's wild, right?
It's crazy.
Skankfest is nuts, dude.
It's nuts.
We had a few moments where I was with like the Are You Garbage guys, and there was
I love them.
yeah, and there was like 10 of us, and it was getting way too into like 9 guys being like, dude, isn't it sick we get to do this? And there was like, all right, we need to take a break from whatever we're doing
Chill
right
out.
now.
Everybody take a 7-Eleven break, go get some snacks, and then we'll reconvene.
It's so fucking sick.
Dude, it's wild. This is just wild. Dude, isn't free speech amazing?
Dude,
is it cool to congregate with friends?
There was in Toronto, we used to have this there's this club I used to do, the Corner Comedy Club, and a lot of the kind of inside jokes I did there I kind of brought to like America and was doing some of them like went viral and stuff as jokes. But there's this, we used to have this thing where we're like, boys, like outside the club, right? And there's this one guy, Danny Martinello, who's like a good friend of ours, just a fucking Canadian beast, right? And he goes so jazzed up, he fucking goes, yeah. And then he comes up, he goes, I fucking love being a dude. Just the most, we're all, everyone's just like, all right, we need to.
Yeah, dude, guys, can you just take a fire extinguisher off the wall? You start hosing
Dude,
him down.
it was legitimately the funniest thing in the world. Just fucking legends hanging outside the club. No girls. The guy goes, I fucking love being a dude.
I love it, dude.
Unironically.
Yeah.
And we're all just like, Danny Martinello fucking rules. but we go, that's the peak. I think everyone's like, all right, let's back inside.
Do you think?
I think we did it.
Do you think women are ever that aggressively like, I love being a lady?
Being girl fucking rules? Hell no.
I don't think so.
Hell no. Because, and especially in the climate, like, do you know, there's always underlying something that is making fun of. Like, there was also underneath it the like extra funniness that how not okay it is for like a comedy club to just be only guys on a lineup.
Oh, right.
'Cause this is like peak 2016, 2017, where, you know what I mean? The whole thing is how toxic, you know, comedy clubs are. And then we're outside the comedy club, just no girls in sight, no girls on the show, just being like, fucking dudes rock. Like, it's also extra funny, like how kind of not okay it is.
That's where comedy comes from. People laughing at things we shouldn't be laughing at.
Yeah.
That's like the
It's like
definition.
This club, like, girls have boycotted because they're like, there's too many dudes here. Like, we go, this is like, if they were making a parody of this club,
Right.
they'd be like, oh, it's these guys outside the club, like, yelling about how sick it is to be dudes.
Yeah. like somebody walks by, like
Go fucking suck.
a female comic walks by and she goes, do you know who books this club? And then like you hear the guy go, I love being a dude. You're like, oh yeah, that's the booker right there.
Being a dude fucking rock.
This is the best, dude.
Yo, dicks rule, pussy's fucking drool.
Yeah, the sign up sheet's over there. So anyway.
She's like, it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going, I can't believe this is this is legitimately their like worst fear at the like alt club of what they think this comedy
Right,
club is.
and then it's literally coming to fruition right in front of their eyes.
yeah.
I want to get into this next segment. It's called Fanning Out.
Fanning out. Questions from fans.
So I reached out to people on the internet and I said, if you could ask Ryan Long a question or a scene suggestion, perhaps, what would it be? People reached right back. And this one comes from Joberto_J_Bertopus. What's Ryan Long's favorite Canadian metal band?
Okay. I would say it's like a punk metal kind of combination, but Propagandy probably.
Propagandy.
Yeah, they're probably more. I was
Look
more of
'em
a
up.
punk guy. You know, Protest the Hero maybe for that, but
Okay. I mean, that sounds
Propagandy.
like... Protest the Heroes.
Publicly, sometimes privately, profitable, the anthem of the aperture, properture, untouchable, focus a moment, not in approval, bury your heads in the bargains of this neo-colonials. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. All right.
That's a shout out to Canadians, though.
Yeah. Shout out. Canadian
Yeah,
love.
Protest the Hero, probably.
Okay. This is...
Cancer Bats. That's another good one. They're all like punk a bit, though.
Revelet's Finest just wants to know your favorite moment of Skankfest.
Favorite moment of Skankfest. I remember walking by and then Jeremiah just came and looked at me and he goes, "This is crazy." It was a callback from before. I'll tell you, my favorite. Nice.
Crazy, isn't it?
Is that what these are? I'll tell you, my favorite actual moment was probably in the mornings when I woke up and couldn't speak. And then that moment after the shower where I got my voice back. Because my voice is always so fucked, right? So I woke up in the morning, I go, and I was like, fuck, oh no. And then I would take a shower, and then I would do exercises, and then I was like, and we're back. Live to play another day.
You're back to a morning radio DJ. Like every time you regain your voice, you're like, and we're back on the show.
Yeah, we were hanging out with Josh Adam Myers, and he was like, he'd just been with Steve-O all weekend, and he goes, yeah, and I was with Steve-O, and you know how Steve-O is. Hey, I'm Steve, and we're like, I mean, me and you both have that voice.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was like, neither of us need to modify anything to do that impression.
Oh yeah, it's the exact same thing. Steve-O is one of my favorite impressions to do. For the people who know,
You do a good Steve-O?
I do a pretty good Steve-O.
Can we hear it?
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to ask Steve-O any questions?
Steve-O, what was it like putting the beer bong up your ass?
Dude, I didn't think that my butthole was gonna actually engulf it, but once I put it up there, it was actually pretty chill.
Wow.
I've had certain things on there before, but the fluid that went into it was pretty gnarly, dude.
That's sick.
Yeah, dude.
I wish I could. I get told by a lot of people that I look like a younger Bam Margera.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, you definitely look like that. Yeah, man. What's the biggest thing you put up your butt, Ryan?
For me,
Yeah.
what I've been, and this is, I don't know if I should be telling everyone this, but
Dude, just do it, man.
so I'm friends with Danny Polishuk, a Jewish man, and when I left his house, I put his gold, the family's Jewish gold, up my butt.
Jewish gold?
Yeah.
That's sick.
So if I don't know if you're familiar with this, is an old South Park tale, but every family has one. But they do keep it somewhere, and they will pat you down when you leave their house. So it does help if you can find a spot for it. My butthole, there has been made lots of room. So
Did you film it? Yeah, dude.
I feel like I should have better Steve-O questions. Okay, so
No, it's all good, man. I gotta go. See you later, dude. Bye.
Steve-O rules. Yeah.
Dude, I love Steve-O.
All right, dude. I can't do it.
I mean, your voice is already
Rich.
pretty close.
I know.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. Oh,
If you close off your throat a little bit more.
nice, dude. That fucking rules.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. That's fucking the shit. No, that is. It's closed off, and it was. He must have bad vocal cord nodes, but I had that idea to get surgery.
Well,
on
you
them.
know why his voice is like that, right?
Nodes.
It's from him throwing up so much over the years.
Maybe
It's a big part of why it
he kind of
sounds
had
like
a voice like that before.
He
though.
sounded like that before, where it was raspy, but it's why it sounds so much like the way it does
like
now.
the acid
compared-
wrecked his vocal cords.
Yep,
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe.
that's what he says.
Yeah, but
But also that could be
Yeah.
that could be like him being like
Nah, dude, I used to have a smooth voice, dude, but then I started throwing up all the time, man.
people always have, some reasons why they say their voice is bad. And it's never true. I don't know. I feel like
Have you heard Miley Cyrus's voice compared to when she was like a teenager?
no, it's all messed up.
It's a night and day difference. It's insane.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of smoking, and she said from nodes from touring too hard as a young.
I had to get nodes
Woman.
taken away from. I had to get the surgery.
Yeah.
Lasers.
J-Mo did too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It is like a mess, but it did help right after.
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't know. People always say even people go, oh, drink tea and stuff, and you're just like, the tube that the tea goes down is not the tube that your vocal cords are in.
Right. Right.
The only thing that really helps is sleep, quit smoking,
Yeah.
stop yelling, don't do coke.
This is the best doctor exam. It
really is.
Yeah.
Warm
For figuring out. Yeah.
Sleep's the number one.
Sleep, dude. Every time that I lose my voice is because I'm not sleeping enough,
Yeah, I know. That's all.
and I'm not drinking enough water. Water.
Don't eat weird stuff before you go to sleep, like pizza and carbs and stuff like that. Acid.
That's a
related
hard
food.
one for me. I'm like, ugh. Especially
know.
if you're on the road and stuff like that. That's
But
really
none of
hard.
that stuff matters if you're sleeping okay.
Yeah. Yes, I mean sleep does heal a lot of good stuff. Literally, somebody said that you look like a young Bam Margera.
I get it so much. I don't know. What do you think? Do you believe it?
I think it's just more like I guess so. Like it's more like the
whole
curly
picture.
Yeah,
Like the aesthetic.
If you
vibe.
dyed your hair, yeah. I mean, you have tattoo. It's more like you're in that genre of Bam.
I get it. People always say, they go, I don't really see it, but then every video, that's like 10 comments.
Yeah. I mean, if you have dark hair, maybe, and some other change some other features, who knows?
He got big, eh?
Oh yeah,
Dude, real big.
Dude, Bam kicks ass. I remember when fucking like Tom Green was talking to Tony Hawk about those guys kind of stealing his show back in the day, and they were going, I remember they were telling me that I go, I could wake up my parents. I invented waking up my parents, and they go, you can't wake them up like Johnny Knoxville. They stole his show.
What would be a dream tour for each of you? You found it on Instagram. A dream tour.
I think the nightmare tour would be to tour with a band. I think that people think that would be cool, and it's actually a nightmare. Probably like a dream tour. I think it would be cool to do. This is going to be such a lame answer because dream tour, I think like a band, you kind of pick another band, but I was thinking that it would be cool to do like a co-headline like theater tour where you do like half hour each with someone. That's it. That's the whole,
That'd be
the
dope.
whole answer.
Yeah, that'd be
But
dope.
that's not the dream. Yeah. I think for me, it's like the touring part is like, I don't know if there's, it's just ideally the dream tour is one notch bigger than you're doing now. You go, right now I'm doing this many seats on the road. Like hopefully a year from now, it's more than that. But I do think of dream like, locations and videos and stuff like that. Like I would love to make a sketch where it's like I have a whole auditorium filled with like extras and stuff like that. Like it would be cool. I always think of stuff like that. Like I would love to do a thing with a car crash scene. Like I think of filming things that would be a dream to do.
Was it Chelsea Peretti who she had like actors in her special in the audience? Was that her who did that?
I don't know, but
I think so. She would cut to like a clown in the audience that ran. It was I think it was her special was called One of the Greats.
did you think it was cool?
The way it was done, I actually liked it because it was like, it was clear that they filmed some of it like after she was just saying stuff. So they recorded it with her just doing her act, but she's referencing something that's not there. So people are like,
Right.
And then it's cutting later to, then they had the audience in on the joke with her and the costumes or different stuff. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I liked it though. I thought it was funny.
There's a lot of, I feel like that's the New York, LA thing again, where a part of me is just like, that's like hipster shit where it's like, well, instead of just doing like a comedy special, you kind of do all this other shit. Like there's so many people where I'm just like, these people will do everything to avoid actually having to like write jokes and do comedy.
Freaking laying down bars today.
But there is so many people where it's like, it's just everything but here's like an hour of good comedy. But then a part of me does like, I remember David Cross, his intro once, which I thought was the coolest intro ever, where it starts off, he's at a restaurant and everyone's like, hey, do you mind if I take a photo of you? And he goes, okay, thank you. He goes, hey, I'm a big fan. Can you take a photo? And then someone comes over and they're like, hey, my husband's across the street and it's his birthday. Do you mind coming over and doing an hour of stand-up? And he goes, all right, do you mind if I... And he goes, and then that's his special. Like, that's how it starts. So I'm like, I do like silly gags and stuff like that. But there's some degree of when, like, who is it that did a special last year where they're just like, there's no audience and it was just a special. And it was just like, what the fuck is this?
There's a handful of those kind of specials in the quarantine for sure that went around.
Yeah.
They're like,
it's like, I don't know, sure. Okay. It's like, I don't know, dude. Sure. I have friends that like they always come up to me with these like wacky ideas. And it's like, it always just feels
you're
like
a sketch guy, right? Okay. Here's my pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of their ideas feel like, Do you know, like, when someone doesn't want to settle down and be in a relationship or get married, and they come up with like, well, actually, like, polyamory is like, no, you have 3 and you have this, and it's like, to just admit that you don't want to get married, it's fine. But it's like, don't try to pitch me that this is like some new thing that's better.
Or equally as good. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I get it. You're like, you're making up all these new reasons because you don't want to do this other thing. Where it's like, a lot of times it feels like that to me, where it's like, no, you don't really feel confident doing like an hour right now. And that's fine. But don't try to justify this is some better thing.
You're like, I like chocolate cake, and you're presenting like a nut salad over here.
Yeah.
They're 2 different things. They're both edible, but like, I want this thing.
Yeah. It's all. And I think all of that stuff to me comes a little bit of like, but do the other thing first. Like, did you release 3 specials that are like awesome? And do that first before you do your wacky years, I think.
Interesting.
I would say prove that you can do the thing really good a few times.
And then you deserve to experiment kind of down the line.
Well, then you can deserve to make fun of it. Kind of like every comedian when they first start, or disrespect it to some degree. Like every comedian when they first start, they're always like making fun of comedy, right? Like, because that's why young sketch comedy is all deconstructionalist, because it's so much easier to make fun of the thing than it is to do it. Everyone's got the like, hey, Riggs, you know what I mean? Because it's like, well, yeah, it's easier to make fun of like the cliches of cop movies than it is to make a good cop movie. Because I think that most people that are funny are able to like pick up on what's crappy before they are able to replicate what's good.
Interesting.
That's kind of how I see it. So that's why young comedy is always like deconstructionalist cliches that are bad, because you can point out what's bad and make fun of it easier than you can actually do something that's good. But I think there is a point with stand-up specifically that at some point, I think to be great, you need to actually leave your like childish, this is so lame, and actually do it. Then you can still have your parts of it. I think, even the Louis C.K. at his best is still like kind of, yeah, I know, I'm telling you fake stories. Whatever. Like you can always, still be that a little bit and maintain your cool kid like attitude. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like you're still trying to create like great jokes and bits.
That makes sense.
Without just pointing out what other people do bad.
Right. That's like the low hanging fruit is kind of what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think like I think he's super funny, but it's like there are a lot of like comics in that realm where their specials of their stand up is just like, here's what a bad comic looks like. And you're just like, I think I'd like that better if you had like a killer special that was like awesome first. And then you go, here's what a bad stand up is like. Okay, well, what does a good one look like?
I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah.
To me, I don't know. I guess it's like a genre of like,
for sure,
pointing out what's bad, but I feel like that's a young man's game as well.
Well, we are going to close it out with some sax talk. Oh, sax talk. Okie dokie. Ryan Long is going to share a story of a sexual encounter while I play some sweet, sweet sax along with it. And whenever you're ready, I will follow you along, Ryan.
I got a good story from back when I was in the T-Dot, the Six, the Drizzy Drake environment. But I was dating this girl, probably too early for her to mention this, but she comes in, we'd had sex maybe once at the time, and she was like, my thing during sex is I want you to pretend that I'm like a pedophile, and then treat me like I'm a pet. Or so I want you to treat me like I'm 10 and pretend I'm 10 during sex. Yeah, so she wants me to kind of come up and be like, yeah, you're a 10-year-old and I'm a grown man. I go, so that's your fetish, that I'm a pedophile? And I go, well, I think if you're going to be 10, like I should be 10 too. Like that's the only way this works is if we're both 10, not like you're like, I'm 10 and I'm 55. Because to me, I feel like that doesn't work for me. where you're getting your thing where you go, I got to be 10 and that's the only way I can finish. And I'm like, well, I don't think that I would like to be having sex with a girl where I'm pretending that I'm a pedophile. So it's a bit of a one-way street. The only way that I'll do it is if you go, I'm 10, and I'll go, well, me too. And you say, let's have sex. And then I'll say, what sex? And I spin my propeller cap and we'll both be 10. So we would actually, I'm like basically trying not to laugh the whole time when she's like, oh, you know, I know in my dad's room, are you going to come get me? So in this scenario, not only am I an adult having sex with a 10-year-old, she wants me to be breaking into like her dad's house essentially. And then also the other part I was saying was, because this has been, a small little condo in Toronto with thin walls and stuff. And so the one time we did do this, I was kind of like, all right, but like keep it down a bit, because she'd be like, oh yeah, I just finished grade 4 or whatever, right? And I'm just like, all right, but we have neighbors, so you gotta keep it down a bit, or the cops are gonna bust down the door. Like, that's the guy, get him. But I think that's the same as all these weird fetishes. They don't seem to make sense to me. Whereas someone's like, I want to be treated like a dog. And then, I'm like, ruff, ruff, that's how we have sex. And you go, well, for the other person, they don't want to have sex with a dog. So it doesn't work both ways. But that being said, I did get through it once, and then I kind of was afterwards. I was like, all right, we're not going to be, that whole thing's not going to be working for me, I don't think.
I mean, that's a creative take, though, to be like, I'll have sex with you as a 10-year-old, but only if I'm 10 as well.
Yeah, we got to both be 10.
That's like the best justification for somebody with a weird fetish. Be like, well, how about we're in the same age group at least?
Yeah.
Can we barter here a little bit? Because this is a creepy suggestion.
Oh, it was nuts.
Wow. But like, here's my thing. When you guys were having sex and she's acting like a 10-year-old, did she have the language of a 10-year-old?
Kind of.
Did she have it down?
It was,
or was it weird?
Like sucking on thumb, like that kind of stuff,
Ugh.
which isn't even 10. Like that's like 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Like me and my friends used to always make fun of this. It was like sucking on the thumb, and I was like, that's not 10. That's like 2. So it's like her fetish is like Benjamin buttoning. Like then she starts like, wah! And you're like, what the? I thought you were 10.
Does somebody need a nap?
Yeah, I go, well, this isn't 10.
Like, what?
Yeah, I thought we were doing, but
Give me my formula.
it was all very like, you got to sneak me out of my dad's room. And it was that kind of like this weird.
What a fun way to close out the podcast. Ryan, where can people find you? Where on social media, and also like if you have upcoming tour dates, this will be out on Monday.
This will be out on Monday, which means you can catch me in Melrose and Irvine. So I'm doing 23rd, 24th, Melrose and Irvine. And at Ryan Long Comedy, youtube.com/Ryan Long Comedy. I release a video every Monday and my podcast every Friday, The Boys Cast with Ryan Long.
Heck yeah, dude. Thanks so much for doing the show.
All right. Peace.
Peace.